Welcome to the Polishing Profits podcast, where we discuss all things related to the business of detailing. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, this podcast is for you. In each episode, we'll cover topics ranging from business management to marketing solutions. Here to help you grow your detailing business, your hosts, Nick and Dustin.
Whoop, whoop. We back, boys.
Oh, it's another week, Dustin. It's another week. It's been a long one. I'll be honest.
Yeah, it has. It has for us too. Been busy, but that makes for an interesting week for sure.
You gotta love it. That's what the fall is here. We have our first day of 50 degrees over here.
Dude, we were just laying out we have a big event, Oktoberfest tomorrow, and we were just laying out the parking lot for that, and I was like pouring sweat. I don't know if you can see it in my hat, maybe a little bit there. Fall has not made it here.
Let me ask you this. Everybody always has like an Oktoberfest, right? There's got to be some other names. You know, I feel like I hear Oktoberfest. I don't even know what it means anymore.
It's the Fest of October.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. We've done ours for, 7 or 8 years, so I think we're going to stick with it.
You sound excited about it. You sound
catchy. We are. It's a big event. We have.
You know what else is a big event?
What?
A grand opening.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is
down in Jupiter, Florida. Red Dot Detailing.
Red Dot Detailing, baby.
Yeah.
Coming in hot for sure. Yeah. So like that. I think that's a good time. I mean, as we've made a great series out of creating this company and kind of going through the whole process. I want to kind of summarize it all up and move on to the next event or next series, I guess, or next topic, whatever. Yeah. But so in order to do that, I think we'll just kind of talk back a little bit, take a trip down memory lane. What you think? And talk about some of the things that we did along the way and how we celebrate this ribbon cutting.
Do you have the big scissors over there?
Man, Chris let me down. Chris, where are my big scissors?
Yeah.
He let me down. All right. So,
where do we start? How do we start this everything?
All right. So first thing we did. Now, just remember, guys, we did this thing because we wanted to go through the whole process of opening a shop, start to finish. And we did it by each one of us doing work off to the side, not knowing what the other one was doing, and then coming back in and letting kind of the viewers decide which direction we were going with. It's kind of cool, kind of catchy, neat, different, whatever. First thing we did was pick a location. When we're talking about a new shop, we wanted to, you think back, like if you had an opportunity to just go start your shop over with, picking a location is pretty important. There's some things that you're going to want to look into. So some of the things that we looked at was average income, population, competition. What other?
I think the first thing we both did was, hey, where is this higher income area?
Absolutely.
And why do you think we did that? I can tell my 2 cents, but I'll let you go first. I know that was the first thing I did. I'm guessing it was yours too.
It was because, as you gain experience and you've been detailing a while, you kind of climb the ladder of the customer ladder. And usually as you get to the top of that ladder, their income is up there because they're willing to pay for the quality. Yeah. People that are living paycheck to paycheck, they're not going to spend, they may not spend that extra money, not to the level of what we're going to need to start a new shop. So we're going to chase after that, the disposable income, the extra income where people have it to spend even in different markets. So, or different economies rather. Average income is important to us. We want to chase that higher income bracket. We want to chase those higher end cars, possibly boats. And so that's why I, considered average income being.
The one thing I think is important for everyone to hear is it's more expensive to run a detail shop today than it was 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
So when you go and look at these higher income areas, you're trying to build in this profit margin, you know what I mean? So that you can survive the ups and the downs. Where before, you're able to do things at a little lower cost and still have that margin there from employees to marketing to all these different factors that come into a business. They're all more expensive now.
You said it right there, a business. This is a business, and we're going into this with a business, mind, and this isn't a hobby. And I think once you kind of grow past that, I'm doing this on the side.
Mhm.
This is a hobby I do for fun. Now it's a business. Well, you have true business expense. And so then you have to go chase those higher ticket items and things like that. Or you go straight volume. And and there's fine. I think that there's great business models for both. But in
Yeah.
this instance, I think we were both kind of looking at a different realm there.
Yeah, yeah, no, I like it. So I think what we had Carmel, Indiana, we had Jupiter, Florida. The people
Mhm.
spoke. They didn't want to be in the middle of the U.S. It's fair. I get it. They wanted to be the beach and the
Back to
sunshine.
there. Shout out to Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jupiter. Yeah, I mean, Jupiter, Florida, man, you can't compete with Jupiter, Florida.
No, but yeah, I do think if someone really wanted to go and get down to Jupiter, Florida, it comes with more expenses. So again, keeping that in mind, whether you're charging X amount of dollars there, be able to charge the same amount in Carmel, Indiana, based on the demographics, but you've got a ton more overhead in
Yep.
Jupiter, Florida, just to keep it in mind. But the
No,
people,
absolutely.
yeah, and we were happy to go with what they wanted.
Yeah, another thing we looked at was competition in the area. Not that that
Mhm.
steers us away from anything. I mean, competition says that people are willing to pay for details. So
Yeah,
just picking a spot that has no detailer is probably not the best move, because if there's no detailer, that means that there may not be the market for detail. And so, Walgreens don't go look for a field somewhere by themselves. They look for the CVS and the
this
Rite Aid
in
and
the
the
right aid, and yeah.
oh, maybe not. Maybe they just look for the Walgreens or
So
CVS. I don't know.
after we had that Jupiter, Florida, we were good with that. You know what? I don't mind the sunshine. I was pretty excited about it myself. Then we had to go find the actual physical shop
Yep.
address and location.
Yep.
I used LoopNet to, Dustin, you had I'll say creative approach to it. That definitely got just that lost all the way through. But
Oh,
I'll let you go ahead and talk about that first.
I didn't want to flex second time out of the gate. I was just let
Yeah, yeah.
sandbag a little bit, just make you feel like you're in this thing. No, I went with a different approach. I said, let's save our money. Let's go low overhead. Let's grab a storage unit and let's run mobile units and chase the bigger boat detailing, the convenience detailing of mobile detailing down there. So we're going to go to a house that's got maybe 6 or 8 cars, their show cars, their collection, whatever, and we're going to chase that customer rather than the shop and immediately have all this overhead.
Yeah.
Again, the people spoke. I think they made a bad call here, and
Okay.
went your way. It's rare that
Well,
I'm wrong.
for me, it sounds like it's a little different because it's like you want to be in Jupiter, Florida, but then you don't want to go for the overhead. You know what I mean? If you're gonna go all in, you got to go all in, Dustin.
Well,
You know.
listen, I was just trying to make sure that we found ourselves on somebody's boat at some point drinking a margarita. And I
Yeah.
felt like I was closer that way than I was in the shop waiting on somebody to come to our shop. No, but what we wanted to show is, I mean, obviously we didn't talk about which way we were choosing, but we did try to catch both ends of the field and not just go run of the mill stuff. We wanted you to think. And I think that again, here both business models work.
Yep.
Could you bring a customer back to the storage yard and show them your nice office? Probably not. Um, and you're going to have the expense of a transit van or some form of travel,
Yeah.
something you're going to work out of. So the cost of that, does that, offset the cost of renting the shop? So there's things to consider. Both of them are great. I think both of them have their pros and cons to it.
And
So
I think it really is again, if you're going to bootstrap it, right, and you're going to say, "Hey, I'm just getting into the business because I don't want to work for anyone else, and I'm just ready to do my own thing." That's great, but it's like you're going to take all this time to plan, sort of like how we were going through some stuff. I would say the patience and the planning, like before leaving the job that you're at. Maybe you're working at a detail shop, maybe you're at a dealership, whatever it is. You should be planning then too to have those savings to take. You know what I mean? So you're not completely bootstrapped and say, "Hey, look, I'm going to take an extra 6 months, put a little extra money aside." That's also again, there's planning even before making that decision that I
oh
think
yeah.
is really important.
And that's the hard work. Like we all get high on that decision. Like, I'm leaving tomorrow and I'm going to go do this thing. And you
Mhm.
totally overlook 90% of the things that you're going to have to that you're going to run into. So
Yeah.
you immediately start in this stressful situation. So pre-planning, really writing things out. And, it's one thing to think about, well, I don't know what kind of income to have, or I don't know what kind of budget, but you can, and you can start. And let me tell you, when you start to write things down, especially when you look at costs, when you start to dial that down as here's what I'm going to have to pay, well, then you
Yeah.
find out real quick, what do you have to make? And it's
Yep.
amazing to me when you say, I have to make this amount of money, you will go make that amount of money. All
Yeah.
right. So but if you don't ever know, you say, I just want to make as much as I can. Well, that's not very easy to do.
Yeah.
It's you have a goal, and we
Real
tend
abstract.
to, what is the saying where energy goes, or what is it?
I
Where
don't know any of
thoughts
your
go,
sayings, so-
energy flows. Where thoughts go, energy flows. That's it. So when you think about it and you write it down, that's where things tend to happen in that direction, and there's reality to that.
Yeah. So after we had the location and where we are on the map there, we did a little branding, name and logo. And I think both of us probably put the most work into this guy. And I don't agree with the decision. I think there was some paid votes there. We didn't do a recount or anything, but we went with Red Dot Detailing. And
Red Dot Detailing just spoke to the people. I mean, it came in
Yeah.
just a landslide win. I mean, who could not love the story behind Red Dot Detailing, the biggest
oh
storm
my God, Dustin,
in the solar system
Yeah.
happens to be on Jupiter, Florida. Like, if we couldn't lean into the history of the planets that
Yeah.
were
that's,
named after, like
that's an option. That's an option. That's what we went with. And you
screams
know what?
detailing. That
Yeah.
screams detail.
My one thing is the name will eventually become obsolete. You know what I mean? It eventually becomes the reputation and the brand. You know what I mean? And if we're, doing all those other things right, then redo detailing doesn't matter. And you talking about whatever storm is going on Saturn doesn't matter. So that's where my head is at. I'm good with it. But yeah.
Well, listen, you're absolutely right. I can't tell you the amount of people that have messed up the letters easy in.
Yeah.
And really, what does that don't even make any sense for detail. Like easy in, I don't even make, but it doesn't matter. It's the
Doesn't matter.
brand and it's brand recognition and name recognition. So they may say ENZ or something like that, but they show up here and they
Yeah.
call us. And so like that's the reality of it. Yes, you want to put thought into it. Yes, you get something that's makes somewhat sense or kind of catchy, but like reality is, I mean, anything you put there, if you work it hard enough, is going to be recognizable at some level. Your
Yep.
branding and the way you push it, and then the way you run the business is what's going to mean the most.
Yep, completely agree.
And just for the record, I won that one again too. So we know here, if anybody's counting, I'm up 1.
He's up 2-1. Shopping spree, right? We went shopping. We had to listen. We have the shop. We got the name. We got to get all the supplies, and we did major supplies.
Yeah,
the stuff that we needed. This one I think was just a pretty easy landslide. I sort of took this shopping spree because Dustin was there spending most of our budget on an air compressor. What do you have to say on the shopping spree there? What was most important for you on the shopping spree?
It was the air compressor. Because, listen, a lot of our detailing, when we're blowing out pads, when we're blowing out cars, a lot of our detailing does revolve around air. And so, and look, I've had air compressor woes from the time I opened my shop from 10 years ago. Yeah. And I've never had the luxury of going and spending $5,000 on an air compressor. And so by golly, I was doing it.
The one thing I had on there that I liked, that I agreed with you with, is I had that, the extractor, right? Yeah. And that's maybe something that we don't need to put a bunch of money into right away. Because again, we're not going to be necessarily focusing on directly shampooing.
Like how much bubble gum and mud and all that's getting into the carpets.
There's a lot of sand down there in Jupiter.
You're right. Speaking, man, I just had a DIY thought. I'm sorry, so off track. Chris,
go ahead, write it down, say it out loud.
I need to. So, okay. So quick. Speaking of sand, you've seen where they put the polisher down in the carpet and turn it on, and it vibrates. Our DIY trick needs to be one of those massage guns, and it does the same thing. So our DIY
Blow it
trick.
all up. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry to our loyal following for just a sidetrack there. But I really had to do that.
You can catch those DIYs at Easy on Facebook's, and catch some cool tips over there.
Man, we went viral with one of them. We got close to 1 million views on one of them.
Yeah, I know you're a celebrity now.
I'm pretty much a celebrity.
You're
Yeah.
a TikTok celebrity.
What y'all can't see is the crowd of people right outside our little window here, just waiting.
People are just like, they want an autograph. They just want to see Dustin.
They just want to see me. It's weird. I don't know. But yeah, so we had to choose stuff for the shop. I did go air compressor, extractor. We didn't choose, we weren't picking chemicals and stuff like that. We wanted to get stuff. I really liked your idea on the hose reels. We use them here at our shop, vacuum hose reels and air compressor reels. Did want to mention again the cool little hack or trick for detail shops using the pool cleaning hoses, like the pool vacuum hoses.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get the professional version, they're unclapsable. Like you could literally drive over them.
Yeah.
They roll up nicely. They fit all of your attachments and stuff, and you can get them at 50 feet. I think what we do is get them at 50 and cut them in half, and so we have 225s.
Yeah.
But they work great with just your shop vac or whatever, and it's a cool way to have a really, really solid vacuum hose, quality vacuum.
Nice. Yeah, there you go. Tip of the day.
Little tip of the hat.
Again, I think with the shopping spree, it is, again, just, I think both of us think back to our shop. You know what I mean? But someone just starting out, it's not a bad idea. Again, you go to a local place and sort of look. It's a lot of looking and researching, and there's so many different products and solutions out there. And it takes time. I would say that one, if you were starting a shop, probably takes the most time to sort of get that list together so you can budget for it.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say, is creating a budget.
Look at that.
But
you're going to make it your idea.
Actually, I have it wrote down right here, creating a budget.
You already had it written down.
But creating a budget is important. Don't be the guy that just say, "Oh, well, I'll get things as I need it."
Yeah.
You always have like that thing that you need. But if you create a budget and then you buy things with purpose, then you tend to have a much more conservative approach when it comes to spending the money. But if it's like, I'll just get it when I need it, you're always spending any little extra cash on these things that you need. And they may be one-offers, or there may be things that you can, do where you don't, you don't actually need that new tool.
Yeah. And again, there's always new things coming out. It's always just, it is worth looking into stuff, but know what works and stick with that is always, the tried and true method there.
Absolutely.
So once we get that shop stocked up, it was time to hire each other. And we had a little fun with that. So Dustin came in as that ideal, perfect candidate. He came in super serious, answered everything perfectly. And that's not what comes in Dustin. But let's go ahead and talk about Dustin's interview. How did that go for you?
Oh, it went great. And that's really the kind of interview that we all dream of. We want someone to come in and that's going to take charge, that's going to take some ownership, wants, express their desire to kind of find their forever home. And that's what we want out of people. Is it reality? 99.9 times out of 100, no. There's a very small percentage that work out like that. We've been lucky here at EZN and other companies to really bring people in that care and want to be here for long periods of time. Yeah. And so does it happen? Yes. Is it rare? Yes. Most of the interviews that you do now, especially nowadays, is, it's your typical, was it millennial that you deal with? And you really got to try to pull out what you're wanting and see if you can make it, find a way to be relatable with them.
My thing with hiring is, again, you're going to want to create your roles in your business, right? That allows you to bring in people without experience, right? Yeah. So, hey, when you bring in that first employee, they're probably not going to be jumping in side by side with you doing the ceramic coating, but they're going to help take stuff off of your plate. So now instead of doing one ceramic coating, you can do 3 because they're able to do some of the prep. You see what I'm saying? So I think making sure that there's a really well thought out way of what is that company personnel infrastructure of when I bring in 1 person, 2 person, right? It gives them an opportunity to show their true colors for the good or for the bad without jeopardizing the business. And then having those positions above that to be in like, hey, you're doing an amazing job. Let's get you going. I don't need you doing prep anymore. Let's get you working on some ceramics or polishing or mobile or, doing some customer service stuff as well as where they fit. You know what I mean? It's almost like you don't know where that puzzle piece fits, but that job opening you create is just like a big circle. So any piece can fit in there.
Yeah, that's spot on.
You can mold them.
Yeah, that's spot on. And that's exactly what you do. And you may end up shifting people around and figuring out where exactly their home is. But you bring them in based on energy and attitude and all that and say, okay, I'm going to teach you what we need here. I just need you to show up and want to work every day and have some drive and some wherewithal. I was in a meeting the other day with a company that we're doing business with, and they brought up the working genius. Apparently it's like this thing that you bring in or you maybe read about it, whatever, working genius. Okay. And it's got an acronym called widget. And basically with working geniuses, you figure out what, when you're looking at each employee and which one they fit in, and then you have certain roles work together through things. It was really cool. I think it's worthy of anybody listening to look into it. It's called Working Genius, and you can Google it, and there's probably a book that explains it. The acronym is WIDGET, and it's wonder, invention, discern, galvanizer, implementation, and tenacity. And it's really cool about how that you can identify what kind of person that is in that acronym, and then pair those with others. Some of them pair well with others. So just something to think about as you're doing hiring and all that. That's something I learned literally a couple of days ago, and I wanted to mention it.
Yeah, very cool. I think it all comes down to how easy is it for you to implement, right? So how much time do you have to sort of to put again, you've got a lot of different responsibilities for that HR and that hiring and firing and interviewing and training. And you know what I mean? That's 4 or 5 things. That's multiple hours a day. How much time and energy do you put into that? And again, for me personally, that's something that is a top priority no matter what.
No, it is. It is. And, it becomes when you're first starting out, you're kind of rough around the edges at hiring. You're going to get it wrong a few times, but then you got to get a knack for it. I actually, we talked about what I liked and didn't like. When we split up the roles, and I said I didn't want hiring or firing, but I just didn't want firing. Hiring to me is fun. It's opportunity. Like you're bringing somebody in. It's an opportunity to change the way. But firing, on the other hand, is just, man, it's a nightmare to me. I just hate to see our team change and downsize. But it always happens once it's over with and we've moved on. You're like, man, I should have done that probably 2 or 3 months ago. So just a heads up, and it never gets easier for me. For instance, it never gets easier. But it is a reality, and quick to hire, quick to fire mentality is probably a good one to have when you're building and coming up.
And I think the number one thing is you're hiring for the team you have. So if whoever you're bringing in, right, you're not necessarily firing them because, they're a bad worker, a bad person. You know what I mean? Right. It's more about the team you already have, and you're trying to give them more support, right? Yep. So if that person you bring isn't giving them the support that the rest of the team needs, or is creating, for whatever reason, isn't working out, then that's the main reason that we usually, let someone go, is because, look, it just isn't the right fit. That doesn't mean that, that this industry isn't for them. It's just here with the culture that we have. It's just not the right fit.
Yeah. And something else, when you talk about hiring and firing, tracking KPIs. So identifying KPIs for the employee. So how do they know definitively if they're doing a good job or not? Will keep you kind of out of trouble, especially when you're having to terminate somebody, is to have something to weigh them against. So it's not as subjective as it seems. So it's I just don't feel like you're a good fit. That's probably the case. But what, if I say, hey, I need you to convert 60% of the sales, and you're converting at a 30% rate. Okay, our problem is you're not connecting with the customer, you're not connecting with the team in order to make the sales. Our conversion percentage is off by so far, then it's just obviously not a good fit. It's not working. Yeah. All right. So then you have something definitive to say this is why. And of course, there's leading up to that, there's coaching in between that. Like, you don't just let somebody go because they're not in their numbers. You got to give them the tools and the training to hit their numbers. And then you got to consider, is there other outside influences going on that's out of their control? But those are things that you want to do. So it's not completely subjective as to I just don't feel good about you. It's hey, we may not be a great fit because of X, Y, and Z.
Yep, totally agree. So the show we did before this one was about those job roles, right? And we sort of did that draft,
Yeah.
kickball. I pick one, you pick one, and I think that was kind of interesting because those are sort of things where look, there's going to always be some compromise whenever you're working with somebody and working with someone, working for someone. I think those job roles and that communication is really important.
I think a lot of our viewing audience is probably owner operators or has maybe one or two employees. We don't
Mhm.
deal. I mean, I know Billy Smith probably ranks up there as far as having the most number of employees in our viewing audience. There's a few other ones out there that have quite a few, but when you think about the majority, no employees / one or two, um, you may be dividing roles with them as if they were a partner, but they're just an employee. So you may say, hey, we got this is what all we have to do. Why
Yeah,
don't you pick what you want out of this, or let's divide these up? And now you're basically letting that person pick what
yeah.
they do. And so now you can get the best of them, and I'm not saying you let them come in and dictate their job completely or,
No,
but I am a believer if you let people, decide what they want to do and do that portion in your business, they're going to be much happier and you're going to be much happier.
yeah, and I know that's sort of like you said, that's a tough tightrope to sort of walk because there are certain
Very much so.
responsibilities that have to get done.
Yep.
But I think that's almost like that comes with sort of promotions, and that comes with what I mean. Like as people start to grow in the company, it's more about putting them in a role to succeed, right?
Yep.
So all those job responsibilities that they now have, or that are new, or that you're going to train them for, it's going to be something that first off, you think they're going to succeed in, and that they're
Mhm.
excited about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. And giving people a couple different paths, whether let's say you have someone at my shop, they come in and they've been with me for a little bit. Hey, do you want to do more customer service stuff? Do you want to do more, actually working on the detailing side, on the mobile? Where can we help you get to? And then when you see them get excited about one way or the other, that's when you sort
That's
of
where
go
you
all in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and you can always kinda inch that to him. Chris is right off camera here, but Chris started out as a detailer. We've told this story a lot. He started out as a detailer in our shop. His passion was in photography. Like,
yeah.
he would show
He
me
does an
pictures
awesome
that
job.
he'd taken and, oh, man, he does wonderful work. You gotta see, like, you can imagine what mine would look like. Um
Imagine what you would look like without him.
Yeah, oh, it'd be rough. But anyways, so it took us a while to get there. I always talk to Chris and I say, look, Chris, one day we're going to get you there. We needed him to detail for a while. Like we needed to grow the business to support a full-time photographer, videographer.
Yeah,
And then we even had to start a marketing business to make sure that we had the means to cover the payroll for that because a detail shop, I mean, to have a full-time photographer, videographer, um, it's
yeah,
expensive. I mean, that's an
yeah,
expense that's hard to justify. So we built our way to that, and that's exactly what you want to recognize. If you have someone that's truly passionate about some portion, whether it's marketing, sales, customer relations, organization, operation. I mean, all this stuff that they could do and help you in your company, but you have them vacuuming carpets 9 hours a day. Maybe you think about cutting some of that back and letting them kind of use their creativeness and what their passion is to help you in your business. And I know it's a process to get to that point, by the way, because it's
yeah,
not like you say, oh, they're great at marketing. Let's just let them full-time market for me. Well, a business it can only pay so much for marketing.
yeah. No,
If you're generating 100 grand a year, but you're paying somebody 50 grand a year for marketing, uh,
math doesn't math.
no, yeah, one, yeah, 1 + 2 don't equal 4. So
Yeah.
anyway,
So
that's
this is
yeah, of
right. This is where we're sort of at with Red Dot Detailing. I think the series brought a lot of value for a lot of people.
course it did.
Um, what were some of those things? Was there anything that you feel like we didn't touch on?
Yeah, I mean, so pricing,
Yeah,
how we track expenses and things like that. But I think that I would love to see that go into topics as we progress forward. And we
yeah,
always can refer to red dot detailing. So yes, we like to talk about Easy In. Yes, we love to talk about Splash because it's real. but we can always use red dot to kind of bounce things off of.
That means red dot, that Saturn is
It's
going
not
to
gonna
stick
die.
around for a long
It's not
time.
dying. You're gonna hear this story for a long time, brother. But yeah,
But-
so there are things that we didn't do that you are going to have to do when you start your business. I don't think that this was A to Z how to start your business. What we wanted to do is go through that process, but along the way, we wanted to, because most of our viewing audience, they're not starting new businesses, they're running one. We wanted you to be able to pick things out of this and say, yeah, I want to do that, or I would like to change that. And that was the whole goal. And I absolutely think that I think it still warrants to say that I won more competitions than you in this. So just so everybody
You know what the tiebreaker was? Because I don't
what?
think you hired Little Nick.
Yeah,
I think you got hired and I got fired. So I think that was the tiebreaker there, the way I see it. But you know what? I did it for the people. I did it because they didn't want me to come in and just do a regular interview. That's not what people wanted. They wanted to see Dustin sweat and say, what the heck am I going to do with this guy coming in on a scooter and door dashing without a license?
Hey, I want to talk about something real quick. If we got a second. I got this program I mentioned to you guys before. I know there's a lot of businesses out there that get sponsorship requests. And it's kind of like funky, right? You say, well, I set a budget at the end of the year or at the first of the year for my sponsorships, and this is how much I pay. But we've taken a different approach. I've talked about this a few times, but I had a unique experience yesterday and I wanted to share it. So for sponsorship request, we have an application. So if you come in for your wrestling team and you say, hey, I'd love EZN to sponsor it, we give you an application. You must fill it out. In that application, it's questionnaire about what it's going to be used for, deadlines. And then it also asks you to write an essay on how you think why do you think my business would be a great fit for your whatever sport sponsorship? How do you think EZN would benefit from this? Okay. And so it makes them think, and I won't let a lot of times the mom or dad try to write it. Usually it's the younger kids, and the kids it's got to be written by the kid. But check this out. So what we do is we bring the kid in and let them kind of present it. So if they turn it in, and if they turn it in with the paper, we pretty much guarantee we're give them the sponsorship. Right? But they must come into it. They must schedule a meeting, show up to the meeting, and communicate with me about this sponsorship. And it's a great way if you're inundated with sponsorships and you're like, man, I just don't have time for it. Everybody drops off, and as soon as you sponsor one,
everybody wants money, Dustin.
But check this out. It's an opportunity for a couple things. One is it's an opportunity for you to connect with the community and understand what they think about you. Because you read these papers and you'll say, that's what they think EZN is, or that's what they think EZN means in this community. And then second is it shows the younger generation that if you work for something, you may just get it, It's no different going to the bank. I talked to Chelsea about it the other day. She said, well, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, it's like the bank. I said, you don't go to, she said, well, they got to come in and fill it. And then they got to come back in for a meeting. I'm like, absolutely they do. I said, what do you think that happens at the bank if I need to go borrow money? Well, I got to fill out papers and I got to go down there and talk to them and I got to prove this and do that. They don't just give it to you.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Honestly, I'm probably going to start doing that. That's, if I'm taking anything from this series, it's that right there. Because think of it. So many people come in, they just drop stuff off. And
it's easy. Oh, it's just throw it down and then now that's your problem. Now that's your problem. And if you don't do it, you feel guilty.
Yeah. The community side of it, I think is really interesting. You're going to get that point of view. And I think again, if whenever the kid comes in, and the mom does the talking, you want to hear from the kid. You know what I mean? Like, what is this for, and why do you care?
Yeah, and look, they get squirmy and uncomfortable a little bit, and you're not. It's not a position from here to here. You want to get level playing field with them. I related to just yesterday it was a wrestling, and we've been doing this a long time. But it was a kid. He's 13 years old, and he's in wrestling. And so he sits down. I said, first of all, tell me a little bit about your wrestling. And it's not like. You're just trying to get him to talk.
Conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I told him, well, I wrestled when I was in high school. And he's like, you did? And then we started talking about that. And now immediately his guard's let down and he's comfortable. And we talked a little bit about his paper and what he thought. And it was so funny. He said, one of the questions that they must say is, what are you going to use the money for? And it says, because we're starving, we need to feed ourselves. It will help us feed ourselves better because we're starving to make weight.
Yeah. Hey, kids gotta eat. Kids got to eat.
I said, okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. So, not to get too far off track there, but that's a thing that's relative. I think, in this thing, providing value to these, to our listening audience, that's something that I know that probably a lot of us in the small towns where you have a business struggle with is people just bringing those sponsorship requests in just left and right. And it's always seems to be at the same time when they all come in waves.
And it is a thing where, again, you got to sort of think of it both sides. You know what I mean? If it's a good customer, you're just going to give them a gift card, silent auction, whatever it is. But if it's something where it has a good reach and you can be part of the community, you know what I mean? You just sort of pick and choose. Sometimes it's a little at random because there's just so many.
Somebody, was it you that does the percentage off? So it's, or was it Billy Smith? Somebody told me, maybe Mike Collins, if they give something away, it's a percentage off. Yeah. So I swear I thought it was you. Anyways, but I thought that was creative. Yeah, so if there's like a local drawing or something, somebody's doing a fundraiser, we're not making them write a paper. We're just going to give them a gift card to the store, or something for their, like you said, silent auction. Absolutely. But if it's a sponsorship for a team, and especially, like if it's a true sponsorship, well, they had to go through the application process.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that's really cool. Where do you where are we going from here, Dustin? What are we doing next?
Man, we have a cool show planned. Are we going to go ahead and tell it? Are we going to say what the show is?
We can build up a little suspense. Let's build it up.
All right. Okay. So don't tell anybody. We have a really cool show for next week. It's going to be awesome. It's super, super relative to what's going on right now. You interact with it on a daily basis, whether you know it or not. If you talk to me, chances are you interact with it more than you think you know.
Yeah.
And so I'll leave it at that, but it's a really, really good show. I like how we're going to kind of shift into this topic discussion type thing. We may bring on some guests, in the very near future. And if we get hung up on a topic, we'll make a series out of it or something, but we're going to spice it up a little bit. I always have that fun and flavor to it. I'm going to argue with you and I'll always be right. Keep that same, keep that trend going.
Super fun series. Excited for the weekend. You know what I mean? We're going to keep rock and rolling. And you know what? Depending on where you are in the country, you got fall and then you got winter. So it's go time right now.
Yeah. Make it now. Get your marketing and ads running right now. It's more important now than ever. Economy may be shifting a little bit, whatever. I'm not going to preach on that too much, but we definitely are heading into what is our slow season for detailing. There's no reason to hide behind that. It is what it is. It's a seasonal business.
Yeah.
Prepare your marketing, your customer communication, your customer follow-up right now while it's somewhat busy, because as it starts to fall, that's not the time to implement. That's the time to reap the reward. So make sure you're doing it now. And if you haven't done it, let's, get on top of it. Now's the time.
Awesome. We'll see you next week.
Great show. Appreciate you as always, Nick. Enjoyed it and looking forward to next week. See you.
See you later, guys.
All right.